Basketmaking is a Mohawk craft that's been passed down for generations. But the practice relies on splint made from ash trees, which are increasingly threatened by the invasive emerald ash borer beetle. How Akwesasne Mohawks are doing everything they can to build a path to a future with ash trees. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Claxton Hepburn Medical Center, dedicated to providing patient care and regional services to the people of St. Lawrence County. claxtonhepburn.org.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Thursday, June 27th. First up, state officials are hosting a public online meeting tonight about managing visitors in the busiest part of the Adirondacks. Emily Russell has the details.
The Adirondacks have been a popular place to visit for decades, but in the last 5 to 10 years, it's gotten even more popular. Julia Gorin is the deputy director of the Adirondack Mountain Club. She's also part of the state's effort to create a visitor use management plan for the High Peaks.
We're seeing impacts to the resource. We're seeing impacts to public safety. We're seeing impacts to the experience. And first of all, defining what we want to achieve and then managing for that will make for a more positive experience for everyone.
That's kind of the idea behind the visitor use management plan for the High Peaks. First, as Gorin says, to figure out what the plan hopes to achieve, and then what management tools can help reach that goal. The whole process is being overseen by the DEC, which is then contracting out data collection and analysis to a research firm. The DEC didn't make anyone available to talk for this story. Joe Pete Wilson Jr. is taking part in the DEC's visitor use management planning process. Wilson is the town supervisor of Keene, a main gateway community to the region.
The High Peaks are special, and the people here care about the mountains. That's why they live here, and we want to make sure that that special environment is protected.
Wilson says he doesn't think one specific solution is the way to go, like more permit systems or more parking restrictions. He hopes that a visitor use management plan can help spread visitors out around the park. And he really wants the public to come up with their own ideas, too, and share them at tonight's meeting.
How do we come up with systems that teach people that there's more than just the peak they saw on social media, and then get them there to a safe trailhead that has some resources for them, whether it's a bathroom, some education, a steward to help them plan and learn. I mean, all that stuff, it goes together if it's going to be effective.
There has been some fear expressed online that visitor use management just means more restrictions to public access. Some people point to the permit system at the Adirondack Mountain Reserve as something they don't want to see replicated. Julia Gorin from the Adirondack Mountain Club thinks permits should be a tool of last resort. And she says if you have ideas about how the High Peaks should be managed, you should come to tonight's meeting.
There's so many people who feel passionately about this place. It's important that their voices be part of the process, and the only way they can do that is by participating.
The DEC did hold an in-person public meeting last spring in Saranac Lake, where about 60 people showed up. Tonight's meeting is virtual, though you do have to register in advance. It's from 5 to 8 p.m. While she knows some people are skeptical of the process, Gorin says she has confidence in the process and in the methodology, which has been used in national parks in the past.
It's a process that invites feedback, that takes time to work through, and will take time to see results, and it won't be set in stone. So when something is done, quote unquote done, it's not actually done. It just is the next step so that there's monitoring, there's feedback, and there's the opportunity to continue to adjust.
Gorin says she sees this moment in the process as just the beginning of visitor use management in the High Peaks, not the end. Emily Russell, North Country Public Radio.
Tonight's meeting on visitor use management in the Adirondack High Peaks is from 5 to 8 p.m. and is online and open to the public. You can find a link to register at our website, ncpr.org. In Akwesasne, the St. Regis Mohawk Tribe's Environment Division is trying to fight the emerald ash borer, which kills ash trees, and help preserve the tradition of ash basket making. Anna Williams-Bergen reports.
It's a clear and sunny day at Akwesasne's Cultural Center. A bunch of people are out on the front lawn, pounding logs of ash trees with the flat backside of an axe. Tyler Curlyhead is one of them.
Start at the small end, I make my way down to the big end. Go about 1.5 to 2 inches wide. You get the white layers there. Brown, not really too sought after, but they still work.
Akwesasne Mohawks have been pounding logs like this for generations. The process compresses, then decompresses the fibers, making them peel right up in long, thin strips called splint. Curlyhead pauses to peel back pieces of splint. Nearby, Jessica Rasbitha takes a splint and wraps them into bundles.
This is how we store them. We want to store them and you curl them with the grain of the wood so that way when you go to make your basket in the future, you're going to submerge this and it'll become pliable again.
While ash logs don't store well, bundled splint can stay good for decades. Rasbitha is the Land Resource Program Manager for the St. Regis Mohawk Tribe's Environment Division. They're the ones who put on this event, which invited the public to participate in the log pounding. Rasbitha says lots of people have come just to watch, especially elders.
They come primarily to listen. The sound of the log pounding is one that used to be heard very frequently, and because we're a river community, the sound would travel over the water in the mornings, and people really remember that noise. And they come because they want to listen to it, and they miss it.
Like many traditional Mohawk practices, basket making became a lot less common in the era of residential schools and assimilation. For many Akwesasne families, there is a generational gap in the knowledge of how to do this craft. But there's another issue. The emerald ash borer, or EAB. It's an invasive bug that kills the trees used to make baskets.
The larvae, they bore underneath the bark and they eat the vascular tissues of the tree, which is the same part of the tree that we use to create splint.
Rasbitha says the larvae zigzag back and forth inside the tree, cutting off the flow of nutrients.
And what they're doing, it's killing the wood. When we're doing this log pounding, we're pulling it back and we're seeing bright white splint. But when the tree is infested with EAB, you pull it back and the wood is dead.
Emerald ash borer is a problem across North America, not just here at Akwesasne. About 7% of New York's forests are ash. But Rasbitha explains that for the Mohawk, losing these trees is more than just an environmental issue.
A lot of our traditional practices are tied so deeply and historically to our natural resources. And so when one of those resources is under threat, the cultural practice itself is also under threat.
That threat is a big concern for Angelo Johnson. He's a 6th-generation basket maker and grew up pounding logs with his great-uncle as a kid.
It's the amount of pride and adoration that goes into basket making just really stuck with me, and I picked it up and just took right off with it.
Johnson also works for the tribe's Environment Division, where they're doing everything they can to stop the emerald ash borer. They monitor its presence across the reservation, inject trees with insecticide, and release predatory wasps that eat the beetles. But Johnson says the insect is like a tidal wave, sweeping through their territory.
There's no way we're going to stop it. The best we can do is slow it down. All these things are buying us time, so that way we can collect more seeds to put away for the future and to actually protect the quality basket trees.
That's why they're holding this event. The Environment Division did something kind of drastic that they've never done before. They cut down 50 basket-grade trees to harvest the splint before they get infested. The axe Johnson's using today is special. He inherited it from the great-uncle who first taught him to make baskets as a kid.
It's just so heartbreaking, and this craft I really love so much, and to see it threatened, to know that it may not be here for the next generation, just really struck a chord in me and kind of made it my life's mission to really push this as best I can and teach the young ones.
In addition to his day job with the Environment Division, Johnson takes every opportunity to teach basket making to Akwesasne's youth in schools and clubs.
They just can't wait to get home and show their parents and their grandparents, look what I made today. It just stirs up a whole bunch of emotions with the family, like, oh, my grandmothers and my fathers, my mothers used to do this. And just to make that connection, from generation to generation is just an amazing thing.
That connection relies on a resource that's becoming scarce as emerald ash borer spreads. So Johnson and his coworkers hope their mitigation efforts can keep things at bay long enough to pass the craft on to the next generation. Anna Williams-Bergen, North Country Public Radio in Akwesasne.
Beautiful photos of ash splint making on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Eddie Lawrence of Moira and Tim Ellifritz of Johnsburg. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.